Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of Smart Money. Now, the theme of today's discussion is financial independence, which we all know is the status of having enough income or wealth sufficient to pay your living expenses without having to be employed or dependent on anyone. However, today we debate whether it's possible to achieve financial independence by 40, or is that a myth? And if it's a possibility, then what are the sources of passive income that I can generate to achieve complete financial independence by the age of 40? Well, our guests on the show today, we have Dilshad Billimoria, the Managing Director and Principal Officer and MF Advisor at Dilzer Consultants, and Mrin Agarwal, the Financial Educator and Director of Finsafe India. Women, welcome to the show. It's an all-women house today, so power-packed lineup, if I must say so myself. Dilshad, let me begin with you, right? First, we all know that financial independence should be your goal in volatile times like today. But what are the initial steps that need to be taken for someone to achieve financial independence early on in their life, say by the age of 40 or 45?
Hi, Sonia. Thanks for having me on the show. I think there are many things and many small things that people could do when it comes to, having a disciplined approach to savings and therefore achieving financial independence. So they could start with, creating a separate investment account. So whatever they receive as a salary could first be saved, and then the balance can be used for expenses. The other option is to start saving as early as possible, right? So the benefit and the power of compounding works immensely when you start early and save regularly. Also to ensure that you're able to set aside a fixed amount at periodic intervals. So the consistency in savings is very, very important when it comes to creating financial independence. Having a good asset allocation is again very important, so that your money grows, as hard as you have earned it to be, and to allocate it, wisely into various investment buckets. So by that, it would mean dividing your time horizon as short-term, medium-term, long-term, and accordingly filling each of these buckets with investments in, short-term instruments like liquid and arbitrage, medium-term like fixed income, and long-term like equity. So these are where, small ways in which people can create a substantial pool when it comes to savings and financial independence.
Okay, so those are some basic steps, right, on how you should be achieving financial independence. I want to get Mrin Agarwal into this conversation as well. Mrin, financial health is so much like physical health, right? People remember it only when they need it. When you're physically healthy, you don't really think about, insurance or working out or taking care of yourself. But it's when suddenly some disease comes up that you realize, oh, I need to get some life insurance. But by that time, it's too late. Similar is the case with financial health. So if I want to plan my retirement corpus well in advance, right, when I am young, what are the steps that one needs to take?
So good afternoon, Sonia, and it's lovely to be here today. I think Dilshad talked about a lot of things that you need to do, small steps. I think one of the other things that's very important is to work out the numbers, right? So very often what we find is that people have this golden 1 crore number in their mind, thinking that, okay, 1 crore is going to be sufficient. Typically, I have seen that these numbers tend to be off by at least 3 to 5 times, basically, right? So that means you actually need more than 3 to 5 times of this golden 1 crore number that you think of. So the first thing I think is also to look at understanding what is the requirement based upon your expenses. Everything is based on expenses. Your current expenses, of course, extrapolated to the future for inflation. And how do individuals do this? Well, there are a lot of retirement planning calculators that are available online, which can just tell you what is the requirement of the corpus and what you need to be investing on a regular basis for this. So it's just going to give you that number. Of course, beyond that, there's a lot of planning. But in order to get this number, what is very important is to understand that inflation has a very big role to play. And most often people don't take into account inflation. And of course, the other thing is estimating expenses correctly, because you might think that maybe your expenses might go down. That's not the case, because lifestyle expenses do tend to creep in as you grow older, and or they get replaced by other expenses, maybe like medical expenses. You also have to think about what you want to do during retirement, and especially if you're planning to retire at 40, you have a long journey ahead. So what are you going to do for the next 30, 40 years? You're going to need money for that as well, right? So take into account, what are your current expenses? What do you need money for? And of course, inflation. Use this calculator to figure out how much you need to be, how much corpus you need to have, and how much you need to be investing for that.
Okay, I saw a very interesting plate and I want to get that up on the screen for our viewers as well, right? You spoke about that magical 1 crore number that everyone wants to reach by the time they retire. I have here a table that Mrin has put together for us. If you invest 25,000 rupees every month, that's the amount that you need to invest. A measly return rate, I mean, this is a base case return rate, I guess, that they're looking at, 6%. After 20 years, you'll have a corpus of over 1 crore. And if you look at a return rate of 10%, which I guess most equity funds do give you, after 20 years, you'll have almost a 2 crore corpus. So, Dilshad, I want to get you on this. This is, of course, the table that Mrin has put forward for us. Is it as simplistic as this? If I invest 25,000, say when I start working at the age of 21, right? Is that the kind of corpus I can generate 20 years from now? Your views?
Yeah, I think the most important point is the R in all this calculation, which is the rate of return, which is what Mrin was showing. So obviously, if you were to invest at a lower rate of return, the corpus that you would generate would be lower. If you were to, invest at a higher rate of return, the kind of corpus that you would generate would be larger. So I think in the compounding calculation and in the entire retirement formula calculation, the very crucial point are R and N. R stands for the rate of return and N is the number of years. And both being higher are always better for you.
Okay, all right. In fact, we're getting a lot of queries live, so I just wanted to get some of them on board and address them with our experts. Sumit Vyas has just written into us. He asks us, he wants to know how much of a corpus does he need for retirement 15 years from now in order to live comfortably in a city like Mumbai. Now, this assumes importance, right, Mrin? Because living in Mumbai is an expensive affair. You have to take into consideration inflation as well. We don't know his age. We don't have any idea of what his annual income is. But just ballpark, would you want to help him with his query?
Yeah, well, again, a lot of it depends on expenses. Is there going to be rent or does he live in his own house? Let us just assume that he needs the money after 15 years. He plans to retire after 15 years. And from there on, he wants to plan for a 20-year period. Let us assume that maybe if he's having expenses of 1 lakh rupees, current expenses of 1 lakh rupees, and assuming inflation at 5% and return on investment at 8%, he's looking at a retirement corpus of 4.5 crores. So that's the amount that you can look at, provided your expenses are 1 lakh rupees.
Okay. Dilshad, what about you? What would be your response to him?
Right. So I think, like Mrin rightly said, it's, what is the, so for example, so let me give this with an example to you. Say he's 35, we don't know what his age is, but say he's 35 and he wants to retire in 15 years. And so by that time he would be 50 and his current expenses are 1.25 lakhs a month or 15 lakhs per year. In the next 15 years, to maintain the same standard of living, he would need an annual expense of 36 lakhs. That's over 3 lakhs a month. And therefore, a corpus to sustain him from the start of age 50 till, say, his life expectancy, which could be 75, he would need an 8 crore corpus. And that's quite a large number. But it all depends on, what is that, longevity risk of the client. What is the start of his retirement date? What are his current monthly expenses? And most importantly, what is the current asset asset mix like? I think these are the factors that would determine what the entire retirement corpus would look like.
Okay, so you're saying that 15 years from now, he'll need 36 lakhs annually as an expense, and for that, he has to build a corpus of 8 crores. So what would your recommendation to him be if he had to sort of split that, the investment between equities, debt? What is your recommendation?
So that decision would be based on his risk profile. And typically for someone who's age 35, they can definitely afford to take more risk, and bucket the investment for retirement for long term, which would even help him grow his retirement corpus much more. So, he would need to invest a large amount to attain this 8 crore corpus. If he already has investments and savings apportioned towards this, like, for example, if he has EPF or PPF or national savings schemes or NPS, I think these are the existing assets that would help grow towards that retirement corpus. So it would actually need to identify what his current investments are, and therefore what is that gap that he needs to bridge to meet the retirement goal.
Okay. All right. So since we're talking about a lot of mutual fund investments as well, right, to grow your corpus, we have a query coming in from Rahul. He has an SIP of 12,000 rupees in 6 funds, and he wants to know if he should make any changes to his portfolio. He's 31 years old and has a moderate risk. He's a moderate risk investor. So he has funds. There's Axis Blue Chip, there's Mirae Emerging, there's Parag Flexi Cap, L&T Mid Cap, SBI Small Cap and ICICI Multi Cap. Any changes required in this portfolio? Now, Mrin, your views on this. Does this portfolio look okay to you? Do you think he has too many funds? Because that seems to be another issue as well, right? You duplicate stocks by accumulating too many funds. Your views on that?
I think it's fine. Because he's got a good spread of small cap, mid cap, multi-cap funds as well. So I think it's fine, but certainly he should not add on any more funds. And what is very important is that for any further investments, he should stick on to these funds. Of course, we don't know what is the sort of mix between these funds. So that's also important. Like, there's no point in having a very small amount in just one fund and then a lot of money concentrated towards one fund. So I'm hoping that it's a good spread.
All right. Well, let's do one thing. Let's slip into a quick break, but we'll be taking many more of your queries on the other side. Keep writing to us. We'll come back with our guests in just a bit. Stay tuned.